Good morning, friends. It's Colette Marie. I am back to discuss the heart energy center. Um, the first three Sundays actually. So this is the fourth one because we covered the root energy center, we covered the seat of the soul, and we covered the solar plexus. So now we're covering the heart. So this is the fourth session. And I'm going to turn my book around. Like I said, it's sort of falling apart. Actually, it has fallen apart, but here we are. Just to give you, the lighting can get a little tricky on here. Pull it back. There we go, a little focus there. So quickly take a glance at that information. It might be coming out backwards. I do not know. It's hard for me to tell. If it is, I apologize. The heart energy center, anahata. So you'll hear yogis reference the anahata, which is the heart chakra. So you'll hear it in a class, you'll hear it after class. I might have to turn this light off here. Oh, no. Lighting seems to be a bit awkward this morning. Anyway, I won't focus on it too much. So the positive expression of love. Sorry, gonna have to mess with it a little bit. Forgive me, technical difficulties of lighting, the lighting. In the meantime, you kind of look behind me and see what I got. So this is my space. Yeah, here we go. All right, so I've dimmed it down. I might not be able to read as well, but that's okay. This is better focused. Let's try again. Positive expression is love, compassion, beauty, selflessness, sensitivity, appreciation, comfort, creativity, and generosity. I need to put these on. The negative, or rather, not negative, the unbalanced expression of the center is hatred, dislike, selfishness, self pity, human sympathy. I'll explain what that. I'll get into that one. Negligence. The part of the body that this energy center governs typically, as pretty self-explanatory, the heart, thymus, and circulatory system. Why? Because the heart pumps the blood, hence the circulatory system. So, glasses. All right. I'm gonna read. Hatred, dislike, selfishness, self-pity, human sympathy. Notice it didn't say, notice it's not saying empathy. Empathy is a positive expression. Sympathy tends to be negative, meaning, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I guess that can be regarded as positive, but I think it depends on the intention behind what that means for the person saying it. And it doesn't always come across as a positive by the person receiving it. So when someone, for example, if someone lost someone, drop my chair down. Someone recently lost a loved one. Sometimes it's not helpful. I'm gonna be real. It's not helpful all the time, depending on the person, depending on the situation, to come at the individual with, "Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you." I don't know if I like to hear that. It sounds, I'm not really a fan of it. That expression, I'm not really a fan of it. There's something about it that doesn't really stir feelings of comfort and security in that statement, in that expression. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that well enough. I'm hoping you get it, so I don't have to go on it and go on and on and on and on and on and on and on about it. The empathizing with someone who recently has lost a loved one, you could say, my condolences. If you need anything, let me know. I'm here. I'm happy to help out wherever I can. If you ever want to talk, give me a call. I'm around if you need anything. Or you could say something of, Iris, I feel what you're going through. I've been through it as well. Feel free to give me a call anytime you wish to talk. Or write them a letter. But you don't have to go on the woes about your situation, because then you made it about you, and it detracted, it took away from the person and their experience. So that's what I mean about human sympathy. That's how I interpret it anyway. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Now that may mean to you as a genuine statement, which is great, but I would reword it. I would really look at that and examine that and see where you can really have more of a different approach to how you might address something like that. I'm only talking about loss of a loved one, or loss in general. Moving on. Moving on. Hatred, dislike. Someone says, "Oh, I hate this person," or "I hate that," or "I hate them." You know, not to call anybody out. Not that I would do that. It's not what I would do, but I am going to venture out and say that for a while, and whether one feels justified by it or not, by the feeling of hatred or not, I feel as though in the last 4 years of certain former administration, and even current administration, using politics as the example here, sorry, um, hatred has been hate has been thrown around. You know, the hate has been thrown from the left. The hate has been thrown from the right. There's a lot of hate going back and forth, and I sit back and I look at it and I wonder, what's really going on in the person's mind? Clearly, there's some deeper things happening that perhaps the politics are just reflecting. The politics are just sort of triggering those feelings of hate for one side over the other, and vice versa. Uh, it's been really an interesting observation that I have made about it, and I don't condone it. I think it's very counterproductive, and I think it's very counterintuitive, and it really doesn't speak to the values that if you are practicing a mind body thing, for example, yoga, and it's not to be judgy, so don't get confused with what I'm saying. It's not a judgment. I'm not being judgy. We're human. We feel, we have an emotional response to things. We get triggered about things, and we just really want to like express how we're feeling, and it may be misconstrued as hate when it's really just a passion about something that you feel that there's an injustice. That's different. I get that. But hate, mm, that's another level of psychological stuff going on, and stuff going on in the heart. That there's an imbalance in here, that's creating these other feelings. I was going somewhere, and I went off on a tangent. My apologies. So um, it'll come back. All of that to be said, love. Love is a positive expression. Hate is a negative expression. It's not the opposite. The opposite of love is not hate. I must say that again. The opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. Indifference is the opposite of love. Hate is just another frequency on the emotional spectrum. it may be farther to the one side of the spectrum, but it's not an opposite per se. It is an effect of something. It is a refracted um, emotional vibration, but it is not an opposite. When you're indifferent, you don't feel and you don't love anything, you don't feel anything. That's something to be questioned. That's worrisome. That should be checked. That should be looked into. Um, Self-explanatory. So I don't need to go on about that. Selflessness versus selfishness, those are polar opposites. We're all going to be selfish in some way. So, don't, I don't say these negative, these unbalanced expressions as judgments, because there's goodness in selfishness, in that you create boundaries for yourself. That's good. Be selfish with your well-being, because if you allow yourself to just be trampled over by other people, or you're a martyr. I used to be one. I know martyrdom well. Um, it has a narcissistic quality to it, so you got to be careful with the martyrdom kind of thing. That's in the head. But if you constantly, out of altruism and martyrdom, give yourself to everyone all the time, where you're depleted, you're not well, you're not able to attend to your own emotional well-being and whatnot. That's an imbalance. That's when you need to be selfish, right, and create boundaries. Distance yourself from people that seem to take, if you keep giving, they keep taking. That you need to check that. That's when you need to pull it back. That's where selfishness is good in that regard. I'm just using those as examples in terms of selfishness. Now, if you see someone who fell on the sidewalk and you just walk by them, that's selfish. Help them, help their ass up, help them up, help them get back on their feet, help them walk them to wherever they got to go, or ensure that they're okay, or call the ambulance, whatever. That's selflessness. That's good. Walking by the individual, if they have fallen, that's bad. That's selfishness. That's an imbalance. That's something you got to check in there. So um, when it comes to the energy center, Elizabeth Clare Prophet says the heart center is the most important energy center in the body. It is the hub of life, physically and spiritually. Just as oxygenated blood from our lungs is pumped by the heart to the rest of the body, so the energy we receive from God passes through our hearts, or passes through our heart chakra, before it moves on to nourish other chakras and systems of the body. So, so the heart is the center, right? So you want to balance that energy out, and this is going to take a while. It'll probably take our whole life. Who knows? I haven't figured it all out. I have just understood the best means for me to move forward and get through things is to address what's going on in here. Just like I have to address what's going on in the root, in the in the seat of the soul, in the solar plexus, so on and so forth. That's what I got for today. Remember, this is the 7 Energy Centers by Elizabeth Clare Prophet. All right. This is the heart energy center that we're talking about today. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again next week.